everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. Today we're reviewing another Texas Chainsaw movie. This one, when you look it up, it's called Texas Chainsaw, the unrated version. And originally it was the Texas Chainsaw 3D version, but you can't see it in 3D. I can't see anything on 3D on my telephone, and that's where I watched it. And Marco couldn't see 3D on our TV, so why don't you tell them what happened and why is it say unrated and not 3D? Is there some story behind that, or does it even matter?
Well, let's just talk about why this movie was made. It's funny because this came out in the time where they wanted to make everything 3D, everything. They wanted to make Halloween 3 3D with Rob Zombie. They made Piranha 3D. I think Friday the 13th remake was in 3D. They made a Saw 3D, the final chapter, even though it wasn't even the final fucking chapter. You know, they wanted to make everything 3D, and it was really fucking irritating. I talked about it all the time. I would say, WTF, I don't want 3D. Who cares if it's 3D? What about it being good? They made the Fright Night remake 3D. I saw it in 3D, actually. And there's like some hilarious parts where you can just tell, the 3D parts. Like there was a part where there's a character and he throws a bucket at the screen. It's like, oh, okay, it's because it's 3D and it's gonna pop out of the screen at us. And this is another one of those movies that aped off of the 3D craze. I did think it was funny, too, the fact that we got this in 3D, but we didn't get Nightmare on Elm Street in 3D. And to me, I would put Nightmare on Elm Street in 3D because in that movie you have the dream world, you have Freddy's claws, so many more opportunities for cool 3D effects instead of a movie about a guy with a chainsaw. I mean, I don't know what the 3D is there. Like, what, the chainsaw? The chainsaw doesn't come anywhere near the screen. It's not scary. So, Safi, what'd you think about Texas Chainsaw 3D?
Well,
you loved it.
I liked it. It was fair. There was a few big chunks of things where the information wasn't there, and you have to say, okay, this is Hollywood, and things that you see aren't really explicable in reality.
Really?
And the way it is it's a little different, because usually when you would see the people starting off, it's a group of young people, and you don't know where they're coming from, and they're in the car and they're driving, and you know where they're going. They say they're going to do this or that. They're going to go to a game, or they're going to go to the beach or wherever, but you never know where they're coming from. Well, this focused on mainly a girl who said that she got a letter and she was left an inheritance from her grandma, and it was down in Texas. And so her boyfriend and her two best friends, their best friends, they decide to go on this trip to Texas. So, and you're thinking, like, who's the grandmother? It has to be somebody related to...
It's Vern. It's Vern, right? Isn't that her name in the movie? Vern?
Fern. Her name would be
sure?
Fern.
I thought it
should be V.
I thought it was Verna.
Oh, it could be Verna. It could be a Verna.
Vern. That's a...
I don't know. It's one of those weird names that nobody ever calls anybody anymore. And so you're thinking, like, what's going on here? And you're thinking, what kind of inheritance? Because at the beginning of the movie, they show a big shootout, burnout, where, I mean, they were
There's
torched
this really,
with Molotov cocktails.
and let's really dissect this movie, Safi, because you're kind of like jumping around like a weirdo. I just asked for your thoughts on the movie because we want to go
I
in
liked
depth
it better, and then a couple of the others, but there were some big missing information gaps that I thought would have been helpful.
Let's dissect it. I thought that it wasn't that bad, but it was still pretty bad. It was okay. I mean, it was.
Yeah, it was okay.
It was not anything special. And so let's start off. First off, they have this terrible opening credits sequence where we see footage from the original movie, and I'm not kidding you guys, they literally edit in jump scare noises and jump scares into the scares in the movie, which is hilarious because it's like they're trying to edit the movie and make it like a modern horror movie by having the jump scares, and I thought that was cringeworthy. That was so fucking terrible to sit there and, like, because I've seen the original a million times. Safi's only seen it once. We saw it in theaters together in 2017, and that's when she saw it for the first time. But that editing the footage to make it like modern horror, it almost ruined the movie. Like it's like, why would you do that? Like, you could have just showed the effing footage from the movie and that's it. Like, you didn't have to, or you could have showed more new footage. You know, you could have shot some new shots of like them reacting to stuff happening in the original movie or something creative like that. But to like edit old footage to like modernize it, like, that was just awful. That was terrible. Like, imagine if they took Night of the Living Dead and they edited in jump scares. Like, oh, ugh. And then the movie started, and right off the bat, Safi, I have to take a drink. Safi, you're supposed to talk when I take a drink. You're not supposed to sit there and
that's okay.
contemplate.
I don't think anybody cares if you're taking a drink.
Well, I think they do.
Your whistle.
I think they do, because then they'll be calling me Little Marco.
What?
They'll be calling me Little Marco.
For heaven's sake!
Like, you know how he has to drink water all the time.
I remember that.
Oh, now I have to drink water, and they'll start calling me Little Marco. And I don't want that, because I don't like Little Marco. Because he's a fucking retard. And so, the movie starts off, and they have this stupid scene where Safi, that woman looks like you when you're 50.
I don't know what you're talking about. No idea what Marco's talking about. I think we're diverting from, let's just go get to the review. I'll have a drink now, too.
That was funny. So, it starts off, and it's one of those movies that it picks up right after the first one. And so, you know, it's more special than the sequels. You know, we don't have to follow continuity. We just want to start off after the original movie because we're better than the sequels. And so they started off, and they're showing the Sawyer family get apprehended, which is something we never got to see.
No.
And that was something that was cool. It was a cool idea. You know, it was a fan service sequence. But it started off really weird where we pull into the house and we see that there's all these other people in the house all of a sudden. Like all these other quote-unquote family members that never existed.
We've never seen before.
And then there's like a woman with a baby, and it's like, what is this?
And who's that?
Other people said it was like Devil's Rejects, and I agree. It really reminded me of the opening of Devil's Rejects, where there was all this family and they get shot up. But then these rednecks come in and burn it down, and there's this thing with the baby, and you know, it was a fan service sequence. But what was really weird was that the sheriff is saying, send out the boy, as if Leatherface was the only bad guy in the family. Like, sorry, but he was not the only killer. Like, the other two were killers too.
Oh, they had to support him too in order for him to even exist.
The hitchhiker died on the road. That we already know that. But the cook, he was alive and well. He had a shotgun in his hands, and he was a bad guy too. And so the thing with, like, send out the boy, send out Jedediah. That's another thing, calling Leatherface Jedediah. What a shitty ass name for Leatherface. I don't want Leatherface as Jedediah. Ew.
Well, plus the fact in other movies he was named something completely different.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the remake universe, they call him Thomas Hewitt.
Which is a regular name. It sounds perfectly fine.
That's a much better name for the character. It's a much cooler, creepier name. Thomas Hewitt.
I was thinking Jedediah reminded me of Children of the Corn.
Reminds me of, like, Mormons or something. Like, Jedediah?
Yeah, well.
Like, what is this, Hell on Wheels, Season 5? Ugh. And so, that was a big, weird thing that they did. And then they jump years later, and automatically, this movie's a failure. Because I remember when I was really excited for this movie. I wanted to see it in theaters. I thought, this is going to be the first Texas Chainsaw movie I see in theaters. I can't wait. But then I saw the trailer, and I thought, this trailer is off. It looks like a shitty modern horror movie. It does not look good. But it was hilarious because everyone in the comments pointed out the concept was flawed to begin with. Because the original took place in 1974, clearly. Mm-hmm. And this movie takes place in 2013. Which is weird because the star of the movie is the baby, grown up. Yet in the movie they're pretending like she's 20, yet it takes place in 2013, so that would be 84, 94, 2004, 24. She would have been 40 years old or so in 2013. So that made no sense, the fact that they're pretending like she's a kid. And everyone pointed that out. Why is this taking place in 2013? Why are you effing it up with the dates? This movie, like, it thinks it's so special because it takes place after the first one. But then they have all this shit with the dates where, just terrible, terrible mistakes with that. Like, what a stupid idea. Could have had this movie take place in the 80s and it would have been fine. I just thought that was so stupid. And it really sticks out like a sore thumb. Safi really didn't care because she likes bad movies. She liked watching this trash.
It was okay. I appreciated the fact that of some of the smaller details.
I mean, Safi.
But like I said, there were big flaws in terms of what was going on as the result of the girl who's a member of the family. She's the baby grown up, and of course, and I wondered when is this movie supposed to be taking place? Because it just
2013.
Yeah, and it just because it seems so modern. And I'll tell you, I mean, if she was the age, it would have been probably early 80s or something. Or no, wait, it'd be the 80s.
90s.
Or early 90s. And so I'm like, so I was confused about that. I just kind of tossed it aside and I thought, well, what do I know? And then she gets an inheritance. And I'm like, from whom? And it has to be somebody related to that family. And like, where did they get money? Because you don't see in any of the movies. I mean, any of them, remake, original, whatever. Nobody has any money in the family.
To be fair, in part 4, they're funded by the FBI, so.
Oh, well, the only thing I could think of is because they had that burnout and shootout, that they sued and they won some massive lawsuit against the state of Texas. But of course, that's never said. But I'm like, because when she goes down there, when they go down there, it's a mansion.
Yeah, she inherited a mansion.
Mansion.
She got a mansion. She got a wet bar. She got a pool table.
Wine cellar filled with wine.
Underground railroad.
I mean, it was fully furnished with really nice furniture.
It was like a plantation mansion from Django Unchained is what she got. Like, she inherited it from Calvin Candy.
And they can't believe it. They're like, where did all this come from? She says, I don't know. It's from a grandma I never knew I had. And
it's from grandma plot convenience.
Yeah, and like it was just, to me, that was like, I just had to shove that aside too. It's Hollywood.
So what? That's not an excuse.
It's just stupid. It's just ridiculous.
Well, what I thought was funny was how you've railed in the past 2 reviews. You bragged about how these movies, they didn't have to have any jump scares because
I didn't even notice the jump scares. They didn't scare me at all.
They have horror the whole movie, and so there's no jump scares. You don't need any jump scare.
Well,
but in Texas Chainsaw 3D, they have a ton of jump scares. These moments where you know that Leatherface is going to pop out, and there's going to be a loud noise, and it's going to be annoying, but it's like Safi didn't even care about that. It's like
That's
so shocking.
I was thinking that they were doing what they were doing because of the 3D. And I just didn't. Yeah, well, because it would go along with having 3D. All of a sudden, you would have things flying across the screen and coming up in your face, and which I didn't really notice that much either. It was just like, I've seen so much Texas Chainsaw now the last few days that it's smaller things that
there were some
I noticed.
Weird moments, like the title breaking into pieces and then like flying into the screen like it's coming at you, like just these.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I said, and I'm just like, it kind of like
so bad.
It flew over me because I'm like,
but then
and what?
But
now what?
Safi, you're forgetting female nudity, because well, just nudity, because Safi, another thing is in these movie reviews, she's talked about these movies don't need any nudity. They don't have any nudity at all. And in this movie, you got Cynthia from Malcolm in the Middle and The Nightmare Room and something else that I've seen. And I thought, oh, it's going to be cool to see her in this movie. And then you watch the movie and she's like fucking naked the whole movie. She's practically naked even though she has her clothes on. And so I thought that was funny because Safi didn't complain about that.
I just didn't even notice it.
Probably because she's been watching too many modern movies. I don't know.
I haven't watched anything. I've watched whatever we review, but I don't even watch TV. I just watch YouTube videos.
And then the main girl, she had her boobs out once near the end. And fun fact about that, she was supposed to have her whole shirt off for that scene, but then the director pussied out and he said, no, you don't have to fully take your shirt off. You can have it open a little bit, and it can. And I was like, oh, that's kind of queer. Like, it was like a manipulated thing where you could clearly tell, like, yeah, she should have her full shirt off. But I just thought it was funny that these things that Safi said that the series didn't have that made it better, they now have it in this movie, and she doesn't even care.
Well, it's not that great of a movie. It's very average.
Really?
Yeah. And because of all these chunks of information that are missing, and which really, like, one, you said the time, the date is totally erroneous in terms of her age, and then the other thing would be, where did this money come from? And there's no explanation. I thought it was like maybe a wrongful death suit filed against the state of Texas or something, which would make sense, but I can't even imagine they can't even, well, do certain things, so why would they even pay her money?
Killed like 20 people.
Yeah, and innocent people that really didn't do anything. And yeah, there were other people besides him, but there weren't that many people. They weren't even around.
There were tons of other.
Know who they were. We didn't know who they were.
Tons of other plot holes too, and so let's get into the movie more. Did you like Cynthia Safi?
Whatever, Marco. You can mention that.
Did you like Cynthia in this movie?
Yeah, she was
Did you like
great.
her in this movie?
Pretending like she's a rich grandma who has all this money.
What? That's not Cynthia. That's Verna or Vernia or
that's right.
Or Vernal or whatever the fuck her name is. Verna. I don't know. Anyways, this was a one-dimensional affair. It was so like cheap and weak, and it really was like it was another goof-off movie. And I even read that the producer said that this movie is supposed to be silly. And I thought, that's stupid.
That's dumb.
Like, I don't want it to be silly. I don't want to go see a silly Texas Chainsaw movie. Ugh.
Or a silly any horror movie. Unless it has comedians in it and it's a parody.
Ugh.
And they say it is.
Ugh.
If it's supposed to be a real deal horror movie, that doesn't make sense either.
Ugh.
So that's part of
that really affected the movie, but it actually improved it for me because I was able it's sad because I was able to just say, oh, okay, it's all a joke, so I'm not supposed to take any of this seriously. I'm not supposed to be invested into these characters. I'm not supposed to really be invested into the story. I'm just supposed to sit there like a fucking idiot and just say, oh, this is a great movie because it's fun and it's funny. Like, ugh. And right off the bat, you knew that main girl was going to survive. You knew, whatever her name. What was the main girl's name even? Like, I can't even remember her name. I don't know. Like,
they never really said her name that much.
I don't know.
Her friends did at the very beginning, but her friends were offed immediately.
I can't even remember any of their names except for the hitchhiker's name was Daryl. But I can't remember any other names. But the main girl, as soon as you saw her, it's like, I know she's going to survive the movie. She's the final girl.
Because she's related to them.
Yeah, because she's the main character. And it's like, ugh. This is why I hate final girls, because they're so effing boring and they're so, it's like, it just completely takes the horror out of the movie.
Well, but in this case, though, it made sense because she was the one inheriting the money from the relative. Okay, and they're not related at all, none of the other people. Well, so I don't think it would make any sense for them to survive.
I'm talking about the fact that she's the focus. Immediately after the opening scene, they focus on her. She's working at the meat factory or wherever she was, the supermarket. Yeah, and she's cutting up meat, and she's making bone sculptures, bone art at home. You could tell. It's like, oh, she's going to be the final girl. Yay! It's the final girl. And it's like, ugh, I'm so sick of final girls. Like, not even like if you had, like, just, it's so predictable. It's trash. And then as the movie goes on, Daryl, the hitchhiker, accidentally lets out Leatherface. And I won't say how because it's unnecessary. And basically, Leatherface has been living in this mansion like he's a bachelor. Like he's made. There's this hilarious part where she walks into the kitchen and he's making a meal for himself.
This was at the end.
No, it wasn't. It was in the middle of the movie.
I thought it was near the end.
No.
Okay.
And he was making himself a meal out of like one of her friends or her boyfriend, and that was hilarious. And then he knocks her out, and ties her up downstairs. And Leatherface was really one of the best parts of the movie, because Leatherface was actually pretty good. He was sort of like a pet animal, but he had such a presence to his character that, you know, you could tell, like, okay, this is Leatherface. He's not a knockoff bargain bin version like the one in the parody that I just commentated over. This is the real Leatherface. And there was a really cool scene where he's sewing the mask onto his face and he's surrounded by darkness. And I guess that sequence was supposed to be 3D, so like his head is popping out of the screen.
Oh, that's interesting. That would have been interesting to see.
Yeah.
I thought it was one of the most interesting scenes in the movie, though. It is too bad that if that was 3D, that would have been interesting to see. Other than that, they didn't need to make it 3D, and I just think that they jumped on some kind of financial bandwagon.
I guess they wanted the women's breasts to pop out of the screen. That's the only thing I could think of, because there's nothing else. There's nothing else that, like, what's supposed to be 3D? The mayor's fat belly? I mean, the redneck's beer belly? The chainsaw being held? Like, I don't know what's supposed to be. The pool table? Like, what? And then there's this really retarded part at the carnival where Leatherface chases the main girl, let's just call her the final girl, because that's what she is. Yeah. He chases the final girl into the carnival.
Because he doesn't know who she is.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that they're related.
They come up with this stupid excuse where he's just chasing her and killing off her friends because he doesn't want them to tell where he is. But it's funny because he cares about that, yet he runs into a full carnival of people who see who he is, and they I mean, what does he think they're going to do in the small town? Does he not know that all those other people are going to tell on him? So it really confused me why he didn't start killing people to make sure that none of them would tell on him, and that he just focused on her. There was no deaths at all. I thought that was weak, and it kind of was like, was this a budget issue? Like, because he could have killed people off screen. We could have seen, like, maybe his shadow kills people off screen or something creative like that. But instead, it's just this weird part where he's just chasing after her. And then halfway through the movie, the friends are already killed.
Yeah, they were killed very quickly into the movie.
Terrible pacing.
Which is weird. That never happens. They're at least alive for a while.
It's bad pacing because it's so funny. Every single Texas Chainsaw movie has the same problems. The pacing and the music. Yeah. And once again, the kills are terribly paced, where it's like, okay, they're all dead. No one's left to kill except for the rednecks. And then
the main girl.
And the music is not good either.
No.
The music is just
not at all.
More generic music. The black guy in the movie, I can't remember his name. I can't remember any of their names. He's a rapper, and they played his rap music in the movie, and I thought that was cringeworthy. Just the music is terrible in these Texas Chainsaw movies in general. Like, every single one has bad music. Like, why can't they ever make a good original score that would fit the movie series? It's just beyond my comprehension. Because it's like, you know, for every horror series, they'll have a cool score where it fits the series perfectly, but not with this one for some reason.
No.
There's no infamous Leatherface theme that comes on when he comes on screen. Nothing.
No, and that would be good too. Think about E.T. Think about
Godzilla.
Even Jaws.
Godzilla.
And God, there's so many of them.
Michael Myers.
Well, of course that, and they even have at Halloween. You want to get like some music that's related to Halloween. They always have those scary movies.
Freddy Krueger, Jigsaw.
The music that goes with those movies.
I believe Pinhead, the Ice Cream Man, Clint Howard. Because that one's really easy because he can just play the ice cream truck music.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's like that's simple. Yeah.
That's like a sound effect in a way, really.
But it's effective.
Yeah, well, you know what it is. That's
with Leatherface, it's just dun, 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 like generic crap music, stock footage music, public domain music, public trash music. But then halfway through the movie, we take a huge break to basically find out exposition for the main girl to like finally learn stuff about her family and everything. And she sits there and reads the whole movie. She's reading a case file about her family. And then there's this thing where she's escaping from the rednecks. And Leatherface finally figures out who she is. And he ends up defending her against the rednecks. And they kill them together. And she says, "Do your thing, cuz." And she throws this chainsaw at him. And like really, really weird moments like that.
That was weird.
Yeah, well, she didn't want to say that. And that's when the producer told her, the movie's supposed to be silly.
Oh, really?
She didn't want to say that. And I thought, she should not have. That's probably the worst. It might be the worst moment of the series.
She shouldn't have said anything. She didn't have to say anything.
Yeah.
That's another thing where you don't need words to show some action.
Do your
Just
thing.
show the action.
Do your thing, cuz.
Whatever that means.
Like that's a moment that could have been in the parody. Honestly, that's what it felt like. So, I didn't think it was horrible. It's just that it was dumb, and it ends with her finally reading Vanilla, finally reading Vanilla, her letter. He had
written her a letter.
Yeah.
Gave it to the lawyer. See, at the very beginning, she meets with the lawyer.
The mustache man.
And he says, "You've got to read this letter." He doesn't live there.
You read it.
He lives outside.
You read this letter, Safi.
He told her several times to read the letter. It will explain everything. She didn't do it. It's almost like I don't think she was ever going to.
If you took
it's
shots,
like an afterthought.
If you took shots for how many times he tells her to read the letter, you'd be drunk. That's how many times he tells her. And of course, she doesn't listen. It's yet another modern horror movie where the whole movie could have been resolved if there wasn't a simple misunderstanding. And so she finally reads the letter, and it says, "Oh, hey, final girl, Leatherface, the Bachelor Edition, he is locked up in the basement, and you gotta feed him, and he'll protect you."
Yeah, well, she says he's family.
Yeah, he's family.
And now it's going to be her responsibility to take care of him because he is family.
And he will protect you.
And
from
then there's that too.
From unknown assailants.
Well, from misbegotten rednecks.
From the trailer park boys. But the thing is that the issue of the fact that Leatherface is a cold-blooded killer who killed all of her friends, killed tons of people back in the original movie and before the movie even happened, that issue is literally never brought up.
I know. I mean, just the fact he killed her boyfriend and her best friends.
And they treat it like, oh, he's sympathetic good guy now. Like, it's not that simple. That was really weird. I didn't like that. I thought that was like, it was rushed. It was just so convenient for the plot. You could tell that, like, they had a story they wanted to tell, and they told it. Mm-hmm. And it was a fail, Safi. This movie was a failure. They had Scott Eastwood as the evil deputy, and
that's Clint Eastwood's son, apparently.
there's this weird part at the end where he hands her over to the mayor and the other redneck, and then he literally disappears.
We never see him again.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I must have missed it. He must have gotten killed somehow, but I don't remember that happening. So where is he?
Yeah.
That was weird. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Is he supposed to pop up somewhere? Some other movie?
I did like it more than the second one, and I liked it more than the fourth one. But other than that, I would watch it again, though. I mean, I don't think I'd ever not watch it again.
Yeah, I think I might too.
It's not horrible. What would you rate this movie in terms of food, Safi?
Well, I guess I'd rate it in what I made a chicken shepherd's pie last night, and there was something about the flavor that wasn't quite right. And shepherd's pie is like vegetables, and like this was a chicken shepherd's pie, so usually it's ground beef and a gravy with vegetables, mainly peas. That's usually it's peas, ground beef, and the gravy, and then you have a mashed potato topping. And so then you cook it in the oven, and I made a chicken one, and I didn't make enough. I made the mashed potatoes I usually make for when we have mashed potatoes, which is 6 potatoes, all cooked and mashed.
It was
and it
weird.
Wasn't enough, but the thing is, it had
It was very weird.
It had, I mean, I'm talking about 1/4 of a teaspoon, which is not much at all, of poultry seasoning, and it just made it taste so odd.
I'll tell you, it tasted like biscuits. Like literally the whole thing just tasted like you were, because a lot of the time she'll make chicken pot pie,
which I should have just made,
with biscuit topping.
Right.
The whole thing tasted like biscuits.
And
like
it wouldn't have been like that.
I'm not even kidding. Like it was so weird. The gravy made it like kind of like soupy and like weird, like kind of like weird texture, and it was very weird.
And I was very disappointed because we were gonna have it tonight, but now we're gonna have pizza instead.
But the chicken was good and the vegetables were good. It's just it did not come together.
It didn't, and well, the flavor, it just wasn't right.
It was bizarre.
I ate my portion anyway, but it really was ew. And I have trouble, I've mentioned this, tasting anything and liking anything. I'm not talking about just savory stuff, even sweet stuff. I just can't eat anything. I mean, there's just very, very few things that I eat that I like. And so it was very disappointing. And not that this movie was very disappointing, but there was just something about it. And that was the 3D, that was the lack of information, the missing information, the thing where she just forgives the fact that he did murder her friends.
Well, he killed a ton of other people too. Like,
well, I know that, but she didn't know them, but she knew these people.
It doesn't matter. Like,
it was just.
That doesn't matter.
Well, whatever. It was just.
If Ted Bundy was still alive and he was hiding in the basement, and you found out you're related to Ted Bundy, would you care that you didn't know the people he killed?
Oh, no.
That's fucking retarded.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, it's just so many things.
And that's the weird thing is we don't even get to find out how many people they actually killed. Like,
and they should have done that.
Yeah.
Because that would not have been hard to do. What would it have taken, like, to put that in the editing at the end, to say it, like the announcer would say, well, such and such happened, they lived happily ever after. You know, what would it have taken for him just to say something about that? Or printing something on the screen.
The Sawyer family killed 50 men. They killed 50 men. Remember that, Safi, from King of the Hill? I killed 50 men.
Oh, okay.
Cotton. Remember that?
Yeah.
Well, what if the Sawyer family killed 50 men and 50 women? So, anyways, I give this movie, it was tough because I wanted, instinctively, I wanted to give it the grade that I gave the Card Counter. If you want to go check that review out and see what I would have originally given this movie, but I changed my mind. There's something that just popped into my head because thinking about it was a very strange dinner, because what happened was someone else made mac and cheese, and after trying to eat this whole meal, I put it in the sink, put the plate in the sink, and then I tried the mac and cheese, and just thinking about it makes me want to throw up, because there was something really weird about the mac and cheese. It tasted odd. It tasted powdery. Like, it was really weird.
I gave him
and
margarine.
It made me want to throw up, and so I had to spit it out. But that was a really weird dinner. It was a Texas chainsaw. And so I was thinking mac and cheese. And there was one mac and cheese that we tried last year. Remember, Safi? Remember the Cheetos mac and cheese?
That was awful.
And this movie was the flaming red hot Cheetos mac and cheese.
Oh God, that was awful. Oh.
It's a good concept. It's a fun. It's not terrible. Like, if it was like really hot, it'd be easier to eat. But it has this odd flavor to it. It's not spicy like it tries to be. Just like this movie isn't really necessary to be 3D. That's what this is. Flaming hot Cheetos mac and cheese.
Yeah.
There's just something off. Something not right.
And they're still making it, too. They're still selling it. They're still selling it.
Oh, yeah, they are. There was this one guy, and he took the different kinds and he mixed them together.
Oh, God.
And he said, "This is actually pretty good."
He must be insane.
Well, he's this really weird YouTuber who reviews frozen foods, and he talks about making meals under $10 and stuff like that. And he's used to eating shit food. Probably eats a lot of bologna and a lot of head cheese, like in this series.
Marco.
Head cheese. That's disappointing too. Like, something that was really good about the original movie was like just the learning. I never knew about head cheese until watching Texas Chainsaw, the original. And so it's too bad we didn't get to see anything like that in this movie.
Ew.
It was very sanitized. It played everything very safe. But I did like Leatherface a lot. I thought this was the third best version of Leatherface. He's not as good as the original, and he's not as good as the remake of Leatherface. But he is pretty good. And I liked... the main girl was just really... Was she good? Did you like her?
I thought she was okay.
She was fine.
I don't think she was bad.
I really
don't.
It was funny seeing Cynthia from Malcolm in the Middle. It was very weird, though, because I don't think she's been in a big movie like that since then. Probably because this movie failed. So,
I don't know.
And it was funny when she got shot. Remember that? She got shot in the freezer.
That was just, I don't know. It's almost like they screwed up.
The deaths were pretty good in the movie, honestly, regardless of the stupid jump scares. So
she was hiding in the freezer from Leatherface. Like, I'm talking about one of those stand-up walk-in freezers.
I think he put her there.
The sheriff?
No, Leatherface.
Oh, well, that could be.
He put her there so he could save her for his next snacky poo.
And she'd just been put there, or she just went there.
Yeah.
So she wasn't frozen or even anywhere near like that state. And this dumb sheriff's deputy was investigating and popped it open, and she raised her arm up and yelped, and he shot her to death.
That was a that was a good
Just like,
moment.
what? And he felt bad for about 2 seconds.
That was realistic.
And I just didn't like that. That was really queer. And I was thinking, this is the same guy that says, what did he say? Carrying a chainsaw doesn't make you bulletproof. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, there was that really stupid part where Scott Eastwood tries to arrest Leatherface.
Yeah.
And Leatherface throws the chainsaw at him to make a 3D effect.
Yeah,
and then he runs
that was
away.
Weird.
He runs away so that he can go home and Netflix and chill with himself. So anyway, Safi.
Okay, well, if you like this video, please press the like button. And if you want to subscribe, we welcome all subscribers to our channel for discussion and input and opinions. And we also request that everybody respect everybody's opinions.
No, you don't have to respect
Well,
anyone's opinion.
I really would like
I don't
that.
respect a lot of the opinions that come on this channel. They're fucking stupid.
Marco can do whatever he wants, but I respect other people's opinions.
Remember last year when you got called racist because you didn't like Fargo season 4?
Well, I was disappointed because it was about Kansas City. Kansas City gets nothing. We don't go to the Super Bowl, and I could just go on and on about that, but I'm not going to do it. But anyway, we don't get anything.
That's not a respectful opinion. You don't have to respect that opinion.
Well, anyway, that was a mistake by somebody, but still, I like for people to make comments and to give, if you've seen this movie, what you think about it, and would you see this movie?
A lot of people just watch it for the. They watch it for the actresses in the movie.
Okay, well, whatever reason that you want to give for watching this, it seems to be there are plenty of Texas Chainsaw Massacre or just Texas Chainsaw movies out there on several different platforms, and you should, in anticipation of the new one coming up, you should watch them as a basis for comparison. And you can make your own comparison and have your own opinions about that. So anyway, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.